Good morning, children. We are on our onward journey of the first chapter of history, beginning of time. We have already discussed in our previous videos origin of the human story of human evolution, the movement of early man from quadruped to bipedal locomotion and advantages of bipedalism, the coming of Homo and the evolution of human being. We have also studied about Homo habilis, Homo erectus and Homo sapiens. We have discussed the question of the center of human evolution with the replacement and regional continuity model. Now, today, we are going to discuss a new topic, and that is early humans' ways of obtaining food. Before we start this topic, I would also like to tell you what all are we going to study in this video. We are going to study about early humans, ways of obtaining food. Then we will go to early humans from trees to caves and open air sites. And then we will move to early humans making tools, and then modes of communication, language and art. And then we will be talking about early encounters with hunter-gatherers in Africa. And lastly, we will be talking about the changes which have come from where human beings started as living by hunting wild animals and gathering wild plants, and then went up to forming the cities. That is how the development of cities came up. So this is going to be our journey. So let us start from the beginning. Very true, very right. Yeah. So yes. So as we start this, first of all, the question is already there for you. How did early man obtain food? So early human beings, they obtained food through gathering, hunting, scavenging and fishing. As I said before also, scavenging is looking for food from the waste. So gathering would be in form of collecting plant foods such as seeds, nuts, berries, fruits and tubes. So this was there. Now we have this the fossilized remains of this are there, but we get a lot amount of fossil bones, but fossilized plants are very rare, because as you know that when the plants decay, they sometimes will be accidentally be burned, and this process will lead to carbonization, and this organic material which is preserved for a long time, sometimes the archaeologists have found evidence, but many a times have not been able to find the evidence of carbonized seeds of the early period. Secondly, there was this hunting which was taking place, and most of these early hominids, they were looking for among the waste, as well as for looking for search of food in meat or from the basically the carcasses or whichever the dead remains of the animals were there they were able to find that, so they used to hunt for that. And along with that, there were certain animals which have been these rodents, birds, reptiles, all these were also eaten up by the hominids. And hunting was the planned hunting which has been found in two places, in two important sites. One is Boxgrove in southern England, and the other one is Skongen in Germany. Now, along with this, there is a very important site, Dolní Věstonice, that is in the Czech Republic, where we have found that how there was a very important planned hunting a site which has been found. How they would go, how it was that many times when these animals might be crossing a river, So what they would be there, like these reindeers or horse, when they would be crossing, they must be, they would or they were migrating, so they were killed on a large scale. So these here, so when the archaeologists dug these here, bone remains have been found of the animals. So that is why there is a feeling that large many animals might have been killed over here when they were trying to cross the river. So this is another thing. And another form which was there was fishing, was a very important, where the discovery of fish bones have been found in various sites. Now the next question which is there is, did women and men both play an important role in gathering, scavenging, hunting? For this we really do not know. We are not very sure. Like that today we find that men and women both take a range of activities, but we do not know whether this kind of an activity was taking place in the earlier times also or not. So this can be a question which can be for an 8 marker, and then you will have to write all these points which I have already marked, so you will have an idea how to go about writing this answer. Now we go to the next topic, that is early humans from trees to caves and open air sites. Now the question here is, how do we try to reconstruct the evidence for patterns of residence? That means, how do we come to know that the animals or human beings were living over here, or this was the place where they were living? So they are saying this can be done. I'll talk later, but they say that flake tools and hand axes have been excavated in 2 major sites. One is Kilom, and the other one is Olorgesailie in Kenya. These are the 2 important sites. You will have to remember their names, where plotting has been done. Now how was it carried out was that how would tools accumulate at one place? This was there because wherever food was available for these animals, right, or any resources were abundant, they would visit that place repeatedly, and naturally some trace will be left behind of their activities, including the artifacts which must have been found over here. And when these archaeologists dug, they found these articles deposited at one particular place throughout the landscape. So that is why in some places the articles may be found more, and in some places the articles which were found were very less. So these are some of the when the excavations were carried out. Here you can have a look at a close up of the tools which were found in the sites, and one of them is in terms of hand axes which were found. So that tells us that if they are visiting this place time and again, automatically they will leave behind some traces. So this will also give you an answer, how did these tools accumulate in one place. Now along with this, children, there is a very important question, that how could some locations could have been shared by hominids, other primates and carnivores? How can you say that same locations there would be some like hominids also found, their traces have been found, their remains have been found, primates the much earlier period they have been found, along with the people, along with the animals who were carnivorous. Now this we can find out is, children, just from this tree you will have to yourself understand. For example, it might have happened that these hominids which were there, they might be sitting on the trees, right, the monkeys, eggs, they might be sitting over here, right, and if they are eating something, they must have thrown it down, right? So when it fell down, then automatically it was left, the remains were left at one place and the traces have been found. Or it could have been the leopards which were feeding in a tree, right? So whatever was there, or owls or whatever they were eating over here, whatever they were eating, they might be sitting over here feeding themselves, or sometimes they might be cutting something with their teeth, or the sharpness of their teeth, or any meat, mutton, whatever they might be eating at that time, or might be working with their tools which were there, so breaking something or maybe chewing, or anything which would be carried out over here, whatever they would be doing. So what would happen is, this place wherever these animals were there, if they were sitting at one place, it would be found the remains or traces have been found more. And generally, if we have to understand, whenever if one animal is sitting under a tree at one place, then generally they would like, one animals come, the other will also come, so it will always be found a group of animals would like to sit together only. That is always there, they try to move together, so that is why their traces would have been found. And sometimes, in case, what would happen is, if any this crocodile is there, or if there is a flood and all, so the crocodile also might, from the river points, they would also come over here, and they would see some animals sitting over there, they might eat them up also and feed on those animals, so automatically the remains of the bones would have been found over here. So there were, and so automatically some of the bones which have been of the carnivorous, along with the hominids, all these must have been found over here at different places. So they reach this site, and automatically the bones have survived over a period of time. So that is how the artifacts of theirs has been found. And artifacts we always refer to is, are the objects that are made by human beings, but it can also relate to many other things like tools, paintings, sculptures, engravings. So, and along with this, whatever they were eating over here, those artifacts have also been found. Now, along with this, now as we started this topic, we talked from trees, then we moved to caves and open air sites. So the next thing which was there was that the caves and open air sites have also been found, and their evidence has been found in various sites in Europe, and one of the places where it has been found is in Lazeret cave in southern France. They have been found over here, and most of the shelters which were there, as you see it in this picture, they were against a cave wall. Along with this, there were hearths also. Hearth is basically fireplace. So evidence of food sources have been found, like vegetables, seeds, nuts, different things have been found. A very important site is Terra Amata, which is on the southern France, which is on the coast of southern France. This is a very important site which has been found, and here over here it is, they have explained how over here in around this cave which was there, this was the hut was there, and how the support was taken, and over here you have scattered pieces of stone which were found over there. Along with that, some here people must be making stone tools. Then they have given you marking of arrows which are there, or whether it indicates basically a fireplace where the men where these early men might be sitting and making a fire. A fireplace has been found over here. Then they have just told you that this baked clay and burnt bones have been found in various sites in South Africa. Along with that, there was a continuous use of fire. Fire was a very important thing. These are the ways in which fire has been used, and what are the advantages of fire. That means fire provided warmth and light inside the caves, and it could also be used for cooking. It was also used to harden wood. Along with that, the tip for the tip of spear, that is when they would go for hunting. Then the use of heat also helped in the making of tools, and fire was very importantly used to scare away dangerous animals. So this was the use of fire. This green highlighted thing which I have done is just to make you understand that how this particular cave, which is very important in France, and how it was built around of a hut, where reconstruction of a hut was there, and from there they have reconstructed how this must have been used like as a cave in the earlier times. So this is or maybe this was a kind of a shelter which was being provided to the early human for their life, as well as for their food, etc., which was there. That was in terms of the fire which they used in the early times. So this was the second topic which we have done. The third thing which we are going to talk about is another very important topic, that is how early man made tools. So we have to remember tool making is a very interesting work, and it has been carried out not only by humans. They are telling us birds are also objects which need for their feeding. So they or they are also looking for their food. Chimpanzees also use. So there are, it's not only humans, but even it has been used by the animals also. And especially this marking which I have done is mainly if we have to talk about how did human help in the making, how did they help in the making of tools. For that I have done this marking. So reading has to be done all. So here they have told us that the human tool making which was there, they are that kind of a tool making. The features of human tool making are not known, that same way is not known amongst the apes. But there are certain anatomical and neurological physiology which is there, which help us to understand that they used the hands, which was a very important way for the tools made for the by the early man. So human use to make tools, which basically requires memory and very good organizational skills, and this kind of organizational skill was not there in the apes. So that is why in apes it is not there, though we have also seen that there are certain anatomical and neurological adaptations which have been used because of that is needed for the skill use of hands, which you already said, which we were discussing amongst the hominids and hominoids, and how later on they adapted themselves because of the bipedal motion, whereby they were now able to use the tools. So earliest evidence of the use of stone tools has been found from sites in Ethiopia as well as in Kenya. And the earliest stone tool makers was the genus, that is the family of Australopithecus. So that was the earliest. That's the next important thing. Then third thing we come to know is, we do not know whether the tool making was done by men or women, or whether both of them were helping in the making, or women or both were doing it. Women in particular might have used certain tools because that would help them in terms of feeding their children, and also would help them when they wanted the children to move away from the feeding mothers. Then important techniques for killing animals, for that tools have been used, and one of them is the spear throwers and the bow and the arrow. So this was also another tool which was used. And then they have told us that how meat and all, whichever was obtained from removing from the bones, right, those meat had also to be stored. So they must have used to remove that from the bones, whatever meat had to be removed, and then some tool must have been used for that also. Then along with that, they also wanted to trap certain animals, so that is why the tool making was there. And another thing was, they wanted that invention for sewing needles also. So there is a change taking place from crude tools to more sophisticated making tools of inventions which were taking place. And one of the most important technique which the early human adopted was the punch blade technique, which was to make small chisel like tools with proper, as you see it in this particular thing also, with proper engravings on bones and ivory and wood, whatever engraving could also be done. So this technique which was there, this diagram which shows, you will have to learn this, not make the diagram, but you will have to remember if a question comes of how was punch blade technique, then you will say, then you will have to write that whatever this top of the pebble which was there, it was removed with the hammer, and when it was removed with the hammer, this would produce a flat surface, right, and which would be and then with this after this flat surface, then what they would do was they would strike with a hammer and a punch over here and make this proper kind of a thing, so that along this slowly and steadily with this, it would make help in the production of blades which would become very more sharper, and this can be used as knives, or they can be more chiseled, and along with that with the more intricately they can be engraved over here on these bones, ivory or wood, wherever it was, they could easily engrave on the bone. So this kind of a plunge blade technique was adopted, so which would be helping in their making of more sophisticated, and improvement was there in their technique, which would help in killing animals, that is why they use these spear throwers as well as for the bows and arrows. So this was the technique which was adopted by the early humans for the making of tools, which was still crude, but over a period of time there were improvements which were being made. Now we come to the next important topic, that what are the various modes of communication. So first of all, we talk about language. Now there are various views. So here also there are this is a very important question. So first thing we are going to discuss is, how did language develop? So they say that there are several views on language development. So first thing they are saying is that the hominids, initially the language which they used was gesture or hand movements. Secondly, the spoken language was, before that there was vocal but non-verbal communication. So like you must have heard the words like something, or maybe they are trying to communicate in that form. Then the human speech, the way we are able to the way we are able to call people or something, that was initially observed among the primates. So human also have possessed a number of sounds in the initial stages. Only much later were they able to gradually develop into a language. So it took time. So initially it was just with gestures or hand movements. Slowly there were non-verbal communication of singing and humming, and slowly and steadily some kind of call or something was being made, and over a period of time the small speech sounds came out gradually, which could be developed into language. Now the next question is, when did spoken language emerge? So they say that the Homo habilis had certain features, its brain had certain features which was possible for them to speak. So the language may have developed as early as 2 million years ago, and this took place because of the development of the vocal tract, right? And it is most specifically with the modern humans. And another suggestion is that language came around the same time when they were able to develop the art, which was around 40,000 to 35,000 years ago. And this language, or spoken language, is very closely connected with art, and because they are both the ways of communicating. So how was this art used? This particular source I'll talk later. So they are saying hundreds of paintings have been found, right? And most importantly, they have been found in Altamira as well as in France, that is in this is Lascaux, as well as Chauvet, which is in France, and Altamira, which is there in Spain. And here different animal depictions have been found of bison, horses, deers, rhinos, lions. Different kind of pictures have been found, right? And you will see over here also these pictures which are there. Now the next question, though it is in a form of a question, children, you will have to remember that what are the questions raised regarding paintings. Now the question is, why do, when some paintings have been found in the caves, right? So why is it that some of the paintings, some areas of the caves only are having paintings and other areas are not having? Why are that some animals are painted or not others? Sometimes why are men painted individually and sometimes as in a group, right? They are, or sometimes the paintings which are found of women only, but most of the paintings found of women are when they are moving in groups. Then they are saying, why were men painted near animals but women were not there? Because naturally men must have gone and done the hunting. So why were certain animals in certain parts of the caves only? So there are certain questions which are in the minds of people, that why are this kind of a thing was there, that paintings which have been found some places and some places the paintings have not been found. So there are innumerable explanations. So what are the explanations which are there? That is, one of the explanation which is there is that hunting was very important and paintings of animals are found with them, one because they must have done the hunting and it was a kind of a ritual and magic. So it was a kind of a, for example, they wanted to trap a particular animal, right? So which animal they wanted to trap, accordingly they would make a picture of it. So it was, or maybe they were as in the we say, no, they must be calling some kind of a magic or something, or whereby they would be taking some names and all, and then accordingly they will say, okay, now we are going to go for a hunt, right? So another explanation is that caves were where they were these people who were there, who were still making sounds and all. This was a place where all these people used to meet, or this was a place where all their group activities were taking place. So these groups which were there, they would share their hunting techniques, and along with that, if they want to tell something about an animal or something, so they would always make paintings and engravings. So this way, these in certain places these paintings have been found, and this information which is being passed out tells us about how the early societies which were there, from the archaeological evidence we are able to trace how early societies were dealing with the mode of communication in terms of art as well as language. So along with this, we correlate with this particular source, and that is of cave paintings at Altamira. This, children, I have made highlighted. It is not that you have to remember only this particular thing, but it is to just tell you that whenever you do, read the source carefully. So here it is, Altamira is a cave site in Spain. Paintings have been found on the ceilings of the caves, right? And one of the person who is over there is an archaeologist, who is a landowner and an archaeologist. He is over there with his daughter, and in that is around 1879. So the girl is running inside the cave, she's playing around, and her father is busy digging because he is an archaeologist. And suddenly they notice a painting on the wall or on the ceiling. So the daughter is very excited and she calls her father and says, see, we have seen an oxen. And the father just laughs it off. He doesn't realize this, but later he realizes that it is some kind of a paste rather than paint, which must have been used and he also becomes very enthusiastic. So finally, whatever his publishing is, he publishes it in a booklet, and this booklet which is there tells us in detail about his findings, which were sometimes dismissed by the European archaeologists, saying that these paintings look so new that it is very difficult to think them to be so ancient. So there is still a discussion going on, but these kind of paintings which have been found, even the discussion is that can these paintings be so old? So this is one of the examples which we come to know how paintings of early animals have been found, and this particularly of a bison in Altamira in Spain. So a question which will be asked, as I keep telling you, maybe some answer will be from within the source or something which could be correlated to the source. Maybe asking you a question, maybe over here what is there, or any question which is related to art. And you will be getting in the worksheet, so please go through that questions and write down. Now, with this, we come to the next topic, that is early encounters with hunter gatherers in Africa. Now, this is very general story. Before we start particular thing, now this is, we are going to talk about very generally. They are telling us a very important African in Africa pastoral group was there in 1870s, and one of this hunting gatherers, this hunter gatherers which were there, the clan which was found in the Kalahari desert was the Kung Sang clan, which of a hunter gatherer which was found in the Kalahari desert. Now this is a direct speech of a person who says that when these people first came to this area, they found footprints in the sand, and they were thinking that what kind of people were there. They were very afraid because they saw that certain people which were there, they would hide themselves whenever they would see other people coming in their area. So in their village, wherever they were, whenever they would see some strangers coming, they would automatically hide behind the bushes. So these people realized that this kind of people who were there, they were very afraid, and they were scared that whoever comes in their area, they might be overpowering them. So that because this hunter gatherer tribe, they wanted to live their own life peacefully and did not want the others also to be there. Even now in Africa, there are certain tribes which are so not so common, not so popular, and still living a life which is of the ancient times. So this is one of the early encounters which of a person, of the person author whose encounter has been put forward. From this, we will be talking about a particular tribe which was there, hunter gatherer, and this is again your source, whereby I'll just explain in brief that this was a hunter-gatherer community which was living in Lake Eyasi, and this lake which is there, the tribe which was there was the Hadzas, the Hadza tribe which was there over here, and they were the ones who were living over here. And wherever this tribe which was there, the Hadzas which were living, over there different animals were found, whether it was elephants, rhinos, different kind of animals, small, big, different animals were found over here. Now all these tribes of people who were there, other than elephant, all animals were hunted as well as eaten by the Hadsas, except for the elephant. So they had lot of meat which was regularly being eaten by them, right? And what was happening was, because of this, the future of these forests, the places where these animals were, the reserves, game reserve, they are the reserves. Over here, the many animals which were there, they were not able to survive because they were eaten up by these tribal people. Along with this meat which was eaten by them, there were certain vegetable foods also which these people were eating. And different this type of vegetable food which was available in different parts for the 6 months when the wet season was there. But from the dry season, in the dry season, there was shortage of food. In sometimes they had a lot of food, but sometimes there was less of food. Along with this honey and other things, these wild bees were also eaten by them. Now, source of water for these tribal was widely distributed, right? And the Hadsas had to sometimes walk 5 to 6 kilometers only where the campsite where they had to walk, whereby they could have water. Now, This country also consisted of open grass plains which were there, and but wherever these grasses were there, any kind of camps and all were not built, right? So there, over here you have trees, rocks, all this kind of thing was there. These eastern Hadsas, they did not assert any right on the land and resources. Any individual who would want can come and live over there, hunt, collect, and go away. So it was not like they wanted to have complete control over there. So, in spite of number of game animals which were there, Hadsas were mainly still eating so much, though they were eating meat, but maximum wild vegetables only they were eating. So they are telling us around 80% of their food was vegetable, and meat and honey they were having only, which amounted to 20%. Their camps were very small, widely dispersed, and in the wet season they they were in those areas where they near the place where sources of water was there. They tried to disperse in that areas where sources of water was available. And there was many, whenever the food, in terms of drought, they had sufficient food, but sometimes they did not have food, but overall there was never any shortage of food even in the times of drought, because of so much of plants and vegetable food which they were eating. Now, when you read all this, it is just very generalized, telling you about the Hadsa community which was there. That is the tribal community. Now, and the people who study about this human culture and aspects of this, they are called as anthropologists. Now, from this, we come to a very important topic, that is, how do we understand about the hunter gatherer societies, and we will try to understand from present how many hunter gatherer communities are, the kind of life they are now living. We will try to understand their past. So the question comes in our mind, can we really understand about the hunter gatherer societies from the present societies, or the hunter gatherers who are there from there? Can we understand the past? So there are two different interpretations which I have put in the green highlighted, which is telling us that some of the scholars say that from present day hunter gatherer societies, it is very difficult, it is very easy for us to understand about the past. How? They say some archaeologists have said that the hominid sites which have been found 2 million years ago have been found around Lake Turkana, which could have been a drying season camp of the early humans, because such practice has also been observed amongst the Hadsas and the Kungsa tribe. So they are saying that we can understand, because hominid sites which were dated so far away ago, which have been found in Lake Turkana, they could have been drying season. They were the time when these were during the dry season they were visited, and this practice during the dry season, when these tribes were also observed visiting those kind of areas presently also, like the Hadsas and the Kungsa. On the other side, certain scholars say that from this, to understand the contemporary ethnic groups, right, their way of life, that is what the ethnographic data tells us. It is, we cannot understand about the past societies, because it is very difficult to do that, because they say present day hunter gatherer societies, they are doing so many different kind of activities along with hunting and gathering. they are having trade, they are working in forest produce, working as laborers in fields, as farmers. There are so many kind of things which the tribal people are doing, which you have read it even in the ninth standard. So this they are not just indulging only in hunting gathering, so we cannot understand about the past. So these societies are totally marginalized, and they are geographically, politically, socially, they are totally they are not in the mainstream of the society. So the conditions in which they live are very different from how the early humans might have lived. So we cannot understand. That is the first point. Secondly, they say there is lot of variation among the living of the hunter gatherer societies of today and the past, because there are conflicting data which is we cannot just base on those that data which is available, because hunting and gathering, how did the early people do hunting and gathering, what was the size which they moved, or the movement from place to place, again can be different from present to the past. The last point which they say is there is very little consensus or agreement regarding the division of labor, or how did these people, the hunter gatherers, how did they go about procuring food. So today they say women and men both work together when they go for hunting and gathering, but important role is there which the women contribute in terms of food supplies, right? So that is very important. So this ensures that people are doing equal role for both men and women in present societies. But in the past, whether women were also contributing so much, it is very difficult to make an assumption. So women today are a very important part, but in the past also if they were doing, we are not very sure. So this makes us understand another broad question of different interpretations. So the question is, do present hunter gatherer communities help us to understand societies? So here is a point which says yes, it helps us to understand. Here it is, these are the 3 points which say that it is not possible for help us to understand. So this is another broad question which can be framed. Next we come to the last topic, which is how did cities come up. Now the last part is, which is actually, this is in a way the whole interpretation of what you studied. And from here, from hunting, gathering, then domestication of plants and animals, and then development of farming and pastoralism or pastoral life which is there, this whole development which takes place is what we are going to study in the last topic. Right. Now let us start from here. This I have tried to explain into you in this complete chronology. So whatever I have written over here is a chronology. Here also the same thing, that human beings, this is actually this point plus these points all together can give you an 8 marker in terms of understanding the development of the cities. So let's start from the beginning. So first thing they are saying is, human beings lived by hunting wild animals, gathering wild plants, right? Slowly and steadily, you will have to learn from the text that between 10,000 to 4,000 years ago, slowly and steadily they started domesticating plants and animals. Once they started domesticating plants and animals, this would lead to a more settled life, whereby they would lead to development of farming as well as a pastoral way of life. Now this, how did this happen, is this paragraph's explanation, that ice age came to an end. Now warm, wetter conditions were prevailing. So when warm and wetter is there, automatically there will be growth of grass and forest. Now in this condition we have specifically certain animals which were increasing, like sheep, goat, cattle, pig, all these were there. And slowly and steadily, even human societies which were coming up, they also prefer where grass is there and animals are there, because they can live over there. So wherever these grass and animal these human societies where grass as well as plants, animals was there, slowly and steadily permanent communities started, they started living over there, because and they needed food supplies. These permanent communities, they needed, as and when they were coming and living a settled life, they needed food supply. Now, along with food supply, it would lead to domestication of plants and animals. So, when plants and animals are there, it will automatically lead to farming, and a pastoral way of life will be there. The pastoralism, their animals are there, they will take them for grazing and grass. So automatically this farming pastoral life came up in the area, which was around 10,000 years ago in the region Fertile Crescent. This is very important. This Fertile Crescent is what we are going to study in our next chapter. This is in the Middle East, Iraq region, Syria. This is the region, this was the home of the earliest civilization. This is the region between the river Tigris and Euphrates, which you will be studying in the next chapter. Now over here, what happened is, over here in this region, more and more people began to stay, right? Permanent houses began to be built, right? Of mud brick stones, right? Now when you are living in permanent houses, you need things for survival. So they are going to make pots, making of pots is there, so for storing as well as for cooking. So along with that, tools and plow will also be needed gradually. So what is happening is, gradually how development is taking place is very important, which is there. So new stone tools which are going to come up are like along with the tools, you will need plow for agriculture, plowing the land. Along with that, metals are needed. Then you have the copper and the iron age, so copper and tin will come up. Along with that, a very important thing is going to be the coming up of the wheel, which will be used for pot making as well as for transportation, right? And this finally, around 5,000 years ago, people are starting to go and starting moving towards living in the cities. So this whole chronological order is very important, a very important 8-mark question, that is, how did cities come up? So again, from hunting wild animals, gathering, domestication is there, development of farming. Along with development of farming, you are living a more settled life. So you are with the settled life which you are going to live, you will have permanent houses which will be made of bricks, etc. Then you will, if you have to live in the houses, you need food. So for food, you will have to make pots, right? Along with that, if you have to work in the for farming, you need plow. So for that, you have to make plows, and for that you will finally, there will be metal, development of metal, and particularly in terms of copper, tin, which will help in pot making. Wheel, the development most importantly will be of wheel for transportation as well as for pot making. And finally, people are going to move to the cities. So development from 10,000 for 10,000 and 4,005 years ago, we are moving to about 5,000 years ago, how the things were there. So this is our complete journey of this chapter which we have completed. So now, as we come to the end of the chapter, whereby I hope you understand the complete journey of human evolution, that is from its origin to man settling down and leading a domesticated life in, and the coming up of towns and cities, right? So this is the most important thing we have done. Now before I wind up this whole thing, I want to say something, children. Now these question answers which are there in your text, please understand this. As I said, timeline you will be doing from the notes. I'll be putting up the notes. in this. You need not do the second timeline. The first timeline can be done, and that you can do it from the notes, as well as I have put up in the my PPT also. These questions 1 to 6, I am giving you, helping you with the answers, because generally I dictate, which is not possible for me. So these answers are there in the notes. So whatever answers I am giving, I expect that the answers should be written in a notebook. In case which is your previous year's notebook, you can write in that. In case you don't have a notebook, then the answers should be written in the loose sheets, which should be properly filed up. So this is very important. So this leads will help you to understand how we are going to do the exercise questions. So exercise questions have to be written, once again I'm emphasizing, in the notebook or on the loose sheets, right? So wishing you all the best, and then we will move to our next chapter in the next class, that is writing and city life. Thank you.